Welcome back to another hour of Scotch Hour. I'm Noah.
And I'm Jesse.
All right, this is episode 112. First of all, before we get started, I just want to thank all of our listeners and viewers, as well as all of our subscribers on YouTube, Rumble, and all of our podcast platforms. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like our content, and leave some comments below. If you have any requests or any type of topics you want us to discuss for our smarter challenges, or any scotches that you like us to try, please drop those into our comment section so that way we can take a look at those and address them and have those on one of our upcoming shows. If there's anything you think we could do to improve, let us know, and we'll be more than happy to look at those as well. Also, if you could, even if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Even if you don't listen to us ever again, all we simply ask you to do is just hit that subscribe button to help us out and reach that goal. We would greatly appreciate that. For tonight's lineup, we have Tomatin Cu Bocan. Khan! Sorry, I just think of Star Trek when I saw that, the pronunciation of the Khan.
I agree. It's one of Benedict Cumberbatch's best roles as Khan in Star Trek. It was great.
I agree. He did a great job in that, and I also like the original too. The original version of Khan. And it is a great twist on how they flip flop that in Star Trek. Anyways, back on topic here. Then after our Scotch review, we have our shout outs and get it togethers. Our restaurant review of Maggiano's Little Italy lunch, the lunch version there. And then our Smarter Challenge, we're going to be discussing the Last of Us TV series from HBO.
Scotch Reviewed.
All right, as mentioned, this is the Tomatin Cu Bocan. It is a very interesting Scotch in the sense that this distillery, the Tomatin Distillery, closes down their regular distillation process, or I should say changes that distillation process for 1 week out of every year, and they make a peated Scotch. So 1 out of 52 portions of the year, this is what the result is, a peated Scotch. Otherwise, the other 51 weeks out of the year, or however many weeks that they're actually distilling, this is that one special week, but the rest are all non-peated Scotches. The Tomatin Distillery is really, it's kind of got an interesting non-dramatic history in the sense that it was in 1892 that the final route of the Highland Railway would pass through Tomatin, and so a local man named John McDougall began planning the Tomatin Spey District Distillery, registered on June 8th, 1897, but it closed very shortly after that. And I almost feel bad for the guy because I don't think he was trying anything wrong. He's trying to do everything right. Closed shortly after that in 1906. In 1909, it experienced wine and spirits merchants reopening the distillery as it was opened with 2 still capacities, capable of producing 255,000 liters a year, which is not a lot. Back then, that was probably a lot. In today's market, that's really not a lot. A lot changes and doesn't change then between 1909 and 1985. You skip forward after a bunch of running basic Scotch, and in 1985, the recession led to the close. So it was one of the few distilleries that was closed while it had actually state-of-the-art equipment to produce the spirit, which is interesting because all the other ones were the antiquated ones, and some of them almost condemned as if they were not fit to continue operating. But this was a state-of-the-art distillery, and it was forced to shortly close its doors. 1986, 2 Japanese companies, Takara Shunzo and Kurako purchased the distillery and still to this day are the majority shareholders of the business. 2002, actually, let's jump back. 1996, J&W Hardy Limited become part of the Tomatin Group, bringing with it an antiquary premium Scotch blend. Now, here's where we appreciate the history change, is that it was shortly after that, 2002, they removed a bunch of the stills and decided they were no longer going to be doing blended scotches because they wanted to focus on a higher quality versus quantity of product, and they transitioned to just single malt scotches. In 2005, that is the first Cu Bocan Scotch production, and in 2016 they did a major packaging change, but they do still believe that top class wood has got a place in their distillery.
Yeah, so the Cu Bocan.
Cu Bocan.
I'm guessing that must be like the chupacabra that we're used to here in like the Southwest and Mexico area.
So as it's read, it's basically a giant hellhound that haunts the distillery. It's only seen once every generation or so.
Yeah, I guess it haunts the village, right? So yeah, it says the story behind the Tomatin comes from the legend of the spectral dog, Cu Bocan, who has haunted the Highland village for countless years. So I'm guessing it must be like a chupacabra. And apparently, like one of the distillery workers saw the chupacabra or the Cu Bocan. But I think this brings up a really good point, because if you show the box there, the tin, I think that kind of like that it looks like a blue flame, but it almost kind of looks like it would be like a hellhound.
Like the snout,
yeah,
and the face, and the bone
ears.
structure.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of cool. I think that's what they're kind of doing there, and I think they're kind of holding true to that. I guess I don't want to say history, but maybe lore. So I think that's kind of cool right there. Now going on to like my typical area of the tours. So Tomatin has their visitor center is open from 10:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. every day. They do have 2 different types of tours. They have the one tour, which is called the Taste of Tomatin. This is the tour. You tour the distillery, followed by a tutored nosing and tasting of 6 different expressions of Tomatin, which is a 2-hour venture, and it costs 35 Great British pounds, or approximately $43 USD. Now, the other tour, which I think would probably be the better tour, and I think if we were to go, this would be the tour that we would go onto, which is the single cask experience. This is the in-depth tour of the distillery and the warehouse, and you get a tutored nosing and tasting venue, or like afterwards you get the nosing and tutoring and tasting of that, and you go, and with this one though you only get 5 expressions of single cask expressions that are exclusive. So you don't really like these ones are you're getting like probably a more exclusive, not necessarily better, but probably a little bit more exclusive, and I would imagine probably better, but I'm just saying, just to cover my bases, maybe not better, but I'm guessing they would be better. They're probably this is a 2.5 hours, so 2.5 hours for this one, for this tour. It's 75 Great British pounds, or approximately $93 US dollars.
Worth every penny.
I agree. Even though I've never been there.
It would be worth every penny. Just the experience.
One more thing. The Cu Bocan. Every time I hear that, I just want to think Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai!
Cobra Kai. Cu Bocan. Strike hard, strike fast. No mercy, sir.
That's right. And as you were mentioning, and it is a good way to point out, the box, it's a win, but it's almost a fail at the same time, in the sense of, part of that myth is you were talking about the distillery worker out for a walk late one night, scared, shaking, trying to reach over and touch this hellhound, which as soon as it gets close dissipates into this blue smoke, as is referenced on this picture. The bottle itself, they do a much better job, since you get to see the whole thing and it's not wrapped around 3 square sides, of seeing that dog, that hellhound look of the dog on the front there. So yeah, personally, if I saw a damn hellhound, I'm not going to go pet it.
No, not at all.
What I will do is look for anyone else that I can run faster than, and then run in front of them.
Push them down.
No, you don't even have to do that, because the sooner it gets them and they're done, it'll come after you. You need to like stretch that one out as long as possible. Just stay a few feet ahead of them.
I'm fucked.
Just like in Zombieland, cardio, stretch, limber up.
What rule is that? Is that number 2?
Oh man, I think number 2 is the double tap, isn't it?
It might be. I need to revisit my Zombieland rules.
All right, so as mentioned here, the box is interesting. Great colors. They've done some really nice work here with a matte and gloss black pressed into the cardboard or the stock, and giving it a feel where it is not just a look, it is actually pressed into that. But at the same time, it does leave me less than impressed with the way they wrapped it around the box. I think there might have, and maybe there wasn't, there might have been a better way to use this beautiful piece of smoke work. But where they don't fail you is on the bottle, because there you do get to see the whole thing. The bottle, again, like I feel like I do love. This is A+ work here, by the way. The way they've printed in white paint or etched this onto the front and back of the bottle. But the bottle itself is not impressive.
Yep.
So without further ado, I'm going to clip this foil, and I'm hoping some of that fancy woodwork they're talking about is on the top of this.
Hopefully so.
And it is. It's just not that fancy, but it is real wood. Real cork. It's a pretty big, it's a pretty big hole. Got lost in there.
Too much fisting, huh?
Cobra Kai. All right. Now for our warp speed
and tasting notes. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, it seems like every week I get impressed by a new Scotch, and this is no different than any other week. I'm impressed with this. I really didn't think this Tomatin would actually would deliver, so I'm kind of surprised. Maybe because I just don't really know their distillery all that well. But I really do enjoy this one here. As far as the color here, what I put is a light medium copper or goldish color to it. I like the coloring of it. Once again, I'm trying to be a little bit more liberal with my color score, so I still gave it a 4. I didn't see a whole lot of particulates in there, but I believe it's unchilled filtered, right?
Unchilled filtered.
and which, if I remember correctly, unchill filter is supposed to allow more flavors to come out in a Scotch, and usually I think sometimes that might also bring out a little bit more particulates, but I didn't see a whole lot of particulates floating around or anything like that, so that's the reason why I gave it a 4. The presentation of this box and the bottle, I actually really do like the box, even though it does like the horns or ears of the smoke kind of wrap around to the side. Personally, like, I don't know, I guess ever since going to the University of Colorado, like when we had the all black uniforms, I kind of dig the black on black. So I like the matted black with the gloss black on the box with that blue flame. I think the one thing that they could have made this box like stand out a little bit more, or this tin, if you will, is if they made that like a glossy bluish purple color and make it like stand out and shine a little bit more. But as it is, I think it's pretty cool. It's not overdone with, it's not too busy. I think it's on the borderline of being too busy, but the way they've done it, I think it still looks really nice. The etching on the bottle, I do totally dig. I like how they have a wooden top. And the bottle design itself, I'm not a big fan of the bottle design itself, but the overall package with the etching and the wooden top and the real cork, I'm kind of a fan of, so I still gave it a 4. As far as the aroma or the nose, so for me, when we open these bottles, we're doing it for the first time, so they are not really having a whole lot of time to have the oxygen hit it and to have it mature and stuff like that. So when we first opened this up and poured it into the glass, as you all witnessed, my initial scent, what I initially got out of the nose or the aroma of it is citrus, and it's like a grapefruit and orange blend citrus. It was nice and light and very inviting. It wasn't anything that was like overpowering or anything like that, or anything that would repulse you. Follow that up with some nice floral scent. Like the floral scent from this nose kind of reminded me of going to like a botanical gardens area, or even going to a field where there's like a whole lot of like maybe like roses and other type of like spring type of like flowers and like lilies and stuff like that, and just enjoying that floral scent with some citrus in there, which made it really nice. But then I also got hints of vanilla with a smoky oat and peat. You can still pick up the peat here, and you get the nice smoky oat, especially like when I put it in my hands and kind of warmed it up a little bit. The smoky peat really made itself a little bit more prevalent, and same with the oak. But if I didn't do that, it's more of the citrus and floral and the vanilla that I got. And I really dug it. And in fact, the aroma actually was my high point for this one, which I gave it a 28.
Damn, son.
So I gave it a 28 out of 30. I really did dig the aroma here. The palate, I also enjoyed the palate quite a bit. And here I have it as a nice subtle smoke and peat throughout the front and mid palate, with hints of vanilla sweetness. And I dig that. Like, I'm a huge fan of vanilla. I like it. When I go get ice cream or anything like that, I order vanilla. Maybe that's why I like certain kinds of like desserts that are vanilla based or have like a nice vanilla flavor to it. When I go to like Starbucks, I like during the summertime, I like to get a vanilla bean smoothie type of thing, whatever that vanilla bean drink is. So I really do enjoy a nice flavor of vanilla. So I like the vanilla sweetness I get here with that smoky oak and peat. But the finish, I guess for the points here, because it was simple and I like that vanilla sweetness with the smoke and the peat and the oak, I actually gave it 27 points. Which I thought was, there's still some more complexity. I think it will open up more. I think we'll pick up some other things, other notes in there. But I was really happy with like the kind of like with the simplicity I got out of it, but the nice flavors. Now the finish. Oh, by the way, it's also medium bodied. Is also what I put down. As for the finish, it's also a medium finish. But here I got this slight spike of sweet spiciness, and as you and I were talking, we thought it might have been like a sweet chili pepper or something like that. And I think that was kind of a nice twist to this, because it's not like a super spicy thing. And that spiciness doesn't last very long. It's just like, for me, it was just like a quick pow and it was gone. And but then after that, it just went into nice, lingering, smoky peat, which I enjoyed. And it's, like I said, it's a medium finish. It did finish dry, which kind of makes me want to drink more of it. And for the finish, though, because it was kind of a medium finish, I wish it would have lasted a little bit longer. And there wasn't a whole lot of complexity. Here, I actually wanted a little bit more complexity in my finish. And so I gave this 25 points. So just to recap, color was 4, presentation was 4, aroma 28, palate 27, finish 25. That gives me a grand total of 88 points. And would I take this to a black tie affair? Yeah, I definitely would. I think the box and the bottle would hold up at a black tie affair. Sometimes when it comes to an event or something like that, sometimes simplicity, in my opinion, is better than complexity. And I think in this case, simplicity does shine in this. So yeah, I definitely would take it to a black tie affair. Would I take it to a poker game? If it's a bunch of guys who enjoy scotches, I definitely take it to a poker game. And this is also one I can see buying an extra one or two and hoarding it on my shelf, and saving it for a time to share it with a good friend or whatnot. So overall, I really did enjoy this bottle, and I think 88 is a pretty respectable score, but we'll see what Jesse has to say.
I'm pretty well in line with your assessment. So first off, with the color, for me, it is that medium light amber gold, which is coming more and more true. Don't know if there's any color added at this point, assuming it's not. But a couple things to remember about that. This is 46% ABV, non-chill filtered, and they've peated it to about 15 parts per million. So not super heavy on the peat, but definitely present there. The color goes with the bottle. And that's why I diverted to the color first, is because whole picture, the presentation is a win. If this is something you've got on a shelf, I don't know who would keep a scotch on a shelf. But if there was anybody and they did, this bottle in front of this box is still a win. It actually goes well or next to it. The box, as I stated, and I'm not like super excited about the shape of the bottle, but I love all of the extra attention they put to details with the matte and the gloss and the smoke, even though it wraps around. And I don't think you get the full picture unless you really look at the bottle. But the bottle itself, the work they've gone to with the etching or the painting and the wooden top, this also gets a 4 for me because they did something different. And sometimes I just have to give credit to people who are going to do something a little bit different and make it awesome. Like, this makes me think of it as high end, even though I'm not loving the bottle shape. But otherwise, it is classy. It is something where, man, this is more of a science fiction movie scotch. I envision someone pulling this is Isaac Asimov, pulling this off a shelf while he's talking to a man dog or something and pouring them each a dram. Man dog, the spirits, the Cu Bocans, sibling, if you will. But 4 for presentation, 4 for color, and I am finding that I've not always been as critical, but I'm starting to enjoy some of the lighter colored scotches more than I used to. So 4 for color, 4 for presentation on the nose. This was not my highest rating, but I do think it has a good nose. And it makes me think of spring. And you mentioned walking through a botanic garden, and I believe that's great because what it makes me think of, and it is fresh and it is crisp. There are those hints of orange and grapefruit. I get the teeniest little bit of vanilla, but also the floral. Now, when we say floral, there are different types of floral. So there is, for example, petunia or daisy or roses, which can have very different scents as well. But then there's also things that are more sticky, a little less sweet on the floral notes, like the marigolds or some of those flowers that just damn right stink. This is not that with a floral note. So that crisp, clean citrus goes into a light, I will call it feminine, floral, where it's not pungent or offensive. It is attractive all the way. It reminds me of like my Yves Saint Laurent cologne because it's got this floral note that's still crisp enough. And even though it's feminine, man, I love wearing it. It makes me feel clean and fresh and ready for spring. And that is the nose on this. The nose on this got a 26 from me. So the palate was my win. And the palate, man, I don't mind taking another sip. It is smooth, easy drinking, creamy, hint of vanilla, peat. Then comes in a hint of smoke, and then there's that sweet yet somewhat spicy chili pepper spike that you mentioned. But again, it's not offensive. It goes away quickly, but it lets you know it's there for just a moment. And then it just almost goes into what begins as a nutty finish, medium long. And then I do dig the dry oak that comes out in the finish. They used 3 types of casks when they were aging this. One virgin American oak, and then the ex-bourbon and ex-sherry casks. And I believe their selection of that virgin American oak being part of it is what helps bring out that dry, nutty flavor at the end, which is amazing. It almost has a hint to me of a Nutter Butter cookie on the finish, where it's nutty, but it's kind of like that. It's like you just had the teeniest little bit of peanut butter on something, and all of a sudden you want more. So it's not so much the dry that makes me more. It's that, damn man, I love me some good peanut butter, and that wasn't enough. That didn't satiate it. I want more. So for the palate, the high point for me, a 28. For the finish, a 26, a good finish, but much like you, man, for such a good palate and such a good introduction with the crisp and the fresh on the nose, it wasn't quite as high as that body. So a 26. So interestingly enough, even though our points were different in where, we both gave it an 88.
I think it's great and funny all at the same time when we score these bottles and we have the same score, or if we're within 1 or 2 points of it, because it's like you said before, we don't share these with each other, what our points are going to be, and all of a sudden we just end up with approximately the same points on quite a few of them, which is kind of nice. So it kind of shows that our palates are somewhat similar but different. Same, but different, but still same.
But still, like, value-wise, and I think at the end of the day, that's what we're looking at with this point scale is this a value? And when we're talking about this one, it is right around that $65, depending on where you're getting it, maybe $75 range. And when we're talking about an 88-point Scotch for $65, yeah, that's pretty good value, whether you're enjoying it for the palate or the nose, the scent. With those pieces, it is pretty impressive that, we've had some practice.
So would you take it to a black tie affair?
Man, I would take it to a black tie affair. I would try to get a little bit of blue in my tie, or if it's a cummerbund night, the cummerbund, definitely the pocket square, if you will, give it that little hint. And then also, though, the blue and the white, the hints of blue and white. Much like yourself, you mentioned, like, the one thing is, I think the box design is 100% solid as far as the thought process. But with you, like just the smoke, there's something that I feel like I want more from it. And it's insane because there's nothing wrong with it. I just want more from it.
I want more from it. I really think like the color, whether it's like that indigo blue or whatever it is, I think if it was like glossy and it just like shined and popped when it hits the light, like kind of like, I think that would just like hit it like it'd be the
next level.
Yeah,
that would have been crazy. It might have gotten our first 5 for
maybe
presentation. But the bottle, man, if it was just the bottle is a win. I do love it when they do something a little bit different.
I agree. Poker night.
Yes, for sure. It is a very good Scotch. Poker night, yes. Black tie, share it with friends. Absolutely. And it is a great variety for a Highland single malt Scotch that's nowhere 15 kilometers or so away is its nearest water, main water. With that, it's not a briny Scotch that we find when we talk about a lot of our favorites, but it's still a great quality Scotch.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Also, when you're talking about like the different casks that they use, the 3 different casks, I think on the finish, the bourbon cask actually makes itself pronounced there too, because you kind of get that with that dryness in the finish. It's almost kind of like a bourbon type finish. Like when you're drinking like a nice bourbon, you kind of get that. Or if you have like a nice old fashioned, maybe like that finish on a nice old fashioned, you kind of get a hint of that maybe. I think on that finish on this. Yeah. Not a sweet or anything like that, but
it's well done. No regrets.
Yeah, definitely no regrets.
It's time for our shout-outs.
My one shout-out this week goes to the scientists who continue to use mold to deteriorate these plastics that are apparently ruining the earth. So they can literally use backyard mold. Scientists in Australia have done this to get this very resistant plastic to deteriorate basically down to nothing in 140 days.
Impressive.
It is. It almost alleviates the problem of plastics when they've actually proven that recycling plastics might quite possibly be worse for the earth than just producing new ones and throwing the old ones away. Well, now there may be a better solution using simple mold from our backyards to deteriorate it and bring it back to you. Now,
this simple mold can it become like super toxic to humans?
They haven't gone
Foreshadowing.
there yet. Yeah, they haven't gone there yet. It's kind of fitting for our smarter challenge.
Well, my shout out is not on topic with our smarter challenge, but it is on topic with what we normally talk about with our with our shout outs and get it together. This one here goes. This shout out goes to Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG, the representative out of Georgia. She called out Representative Swalwell, who's in a committee meeting, and he's the guy who slept with the Chinese spy. And when she was given the mic to start her first 5 minutes, she goes, I'm not going to get this quote exactly correct, but she's like, oh, that's really great coming from the guy who slept with the Chinese spy, and everybody knows it. Then, in this committee meeting, another Democrat went to go they wanted those words striked from the minutes.
Oh, of course,
and call a parliamentary procedure. And because whatever rule that they try to pull up, she won the parliamentary procedure, and that statement got to be kept in the notes. So that was a total win for her. And here's the thing: we all know the guy slept with a Chinese spy. Why the hell is he still in Congress? He slept with a country that we're not complete allies with.
Not even close right now.
And he slept with a spy. That means there's a possibility he gave up American secrets or whatever, and he should not be in Congress. But he still is, and I think that's a total shout out for her for calling him out.
We've got 2 Get It Togethers this week. Number 1, I'm just going to say it and then we'll get there when we do the restaurant review. Maggiano's in your remodels. Get it together. Number 2 is anyone who continues to doubt that we have been in a recession. And now all of the newscasters, politicians, reporters, writers, authors, they're saying, oh, well, now that we might be in a recession, maybe the only reason that some of our numbers have been looking steady is because even though our sales have gone up 5%, inflation's been 10, meaning we actually shrunk 5%, and it's just the dollars of the things we did sell versus the actual volume of sales. And at the end of the day, it is dollars, but it is still a recession. People were spending less.
All right, so my Get It Together, it's going to Facebook.
Oh.
So Robert F. Kennedy Jr., RFK Jr., he announced he's going to run for president on the Democrat ticket. So today, I think it was today, he did his announcement and it was being broadcasted on Facebook. But within 30 minutes of RFK's announcement, they shut down the feed. And if for those of you who don't know who Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is, he is a very big advocate for, I would say maybe not an advocate, maybe a person who points out the bad things about vaccines. And he has called out the government multiple times about COVID, about the vaccines for COVID. And he was dropping a ton of red pills in his speech. And within 30 minutes, Facebook bloop, because he was dropping too many red pills about the vaccine, about COVID, and the things that the government has been doing with vaccines.
Restaurant Review.
This week, we revisited a past restaurant where we had, in my opinion, a 5-star experience. Doesn't get any better. It was absolutely a destination. This being the Maggiano's Little Italy in the Denver Tech Center. It was a great family-style meal, literally perfect. In my mind, everything went well. Service was great. Food was great. Value was absolutely there. Loved the environment. Loved the atmosphere. Destination status. However, now Maggiano's is doing a lot of remodeling. They're taking a lot of that dark wood and making it cold white and gray paint. The service from the experience for me was not there. The service for me started well. And then she just started forgetting, our server just started forgetting things like, oh, well, I should probably take him his wine. Or, oh, well, they've been sitting there 36 minutes for the check.
About 36 minutes.
So waited an exorbitant amount of time, didn't get my credit card back, lots of little fails, and then the food wasn't the same. There had been some changes to the food. So starting off, one win was still the Maggiano salad was still fantastic. Started with a Maggiano side salad, their bread with balsamic vinegar, oil, a little bit of freshly cracked black pepper and Parmesan cheese. Also a huge win. If I had stopped the meal there, the meal would have been a 10. However, it didn't stop there. There it proceeded to the rigatoni D, which was good, but it was not great. And the rigatoni D, as things continue to increase in price, $26.
I think it was 26.
Yeah, a little, going up in price, inflation, we get this, no big deal. But the flavor was a little different as well. So at the end of the day, though, it was still an 8 for me. I still enjoyed it. I ate every last bit. In the past, though, that rigatoni D was a 10. So overall food still gets a high score for me. I didn't have a huge number of things on the menu. Didn't go with an appetizer. I was stuffed as it was. Portions were large. Loved that. Thank you. Overall food was a 9. Service, man, it started out hot and then it got not. So overall service was a 6. The atmosphere, now they are still in remodel status, and I think it is only fair once they're 100% done that we revisit this in some capacity, or maybe I just will. I don't know how you even feel about going back. We'll find out about your restaurant review here in a minute, because unless it does get better, the next time might literally be my last time. This used to be one of my favorite restaurants, and now it feels cold and it's just not inviting. I don't enjoy what I experienced this last time. So atmosphere for me, and this does fall into the bottom of the higher end restaurants for me, because I in the past have had no problems going with a date or a friend and dropping $200. No problems. A couple bottles of wine, family style dinner. Had no problem dropping huge ticket money. Service was there. The environment was there. It was a destination. Now it is not a destination. The environment isn't there. The environment for me is a 5. It is a cold 5. And then the service was only a 6. Food again was a 9. Would I meet a friend there? Only if it gets better. Would I take a date there? Man, same story. I want to see when this remodel is finished. Because if it does get a little bit better, there's the possibility. But overall, my rating for this trip was a 7. And I remember when I would have been given Maggiano's a 10, calling it a destination. Now I would avoid it. I would go to one of the many other places. I'd rather go to the View House than Maggiano's, as it currently is on the same stretch of road.
Ouch.
Right? But at the View House, at least we only waited 20 minutes to get our waters, not 30 minutes to get our check.
Maggiano's, I agree. It probably was a destination point previously. This remodel, if it's anything like in the room that they placed us in with the white and gray walls with like a dark wooden floor, to me, first of all, that just didn't really match. It didn't really go together. Maybe if they get some kind of like flooring that might look like white and gray marbling, that might actually like help it out a little bit. But the overall atmosphere, because of the way the color coding that they have now, it felt very cold and impersonable. It felt like it was like a turn and burn style. They wanted people to come in and leave right away, and it didn't feel very welcoming or inviting or very homey like it used to feel with the dark, warm colors and the more of the wood, which seemed to have a little bit more of a, if you ask me, a little bit more of an Italian feel. Now it seems more of it's like modernized and cold. And I didn't like that at all. So the atmosphere to me took a huge hit. The food, so this rendition here is about, we went there for lunch. A lot of times restaurants will have a lunch menu, which they said it was a lunch menu, and then they have a dinner menu, but the portions were not lunch portions. They were dinner size type portions. And the pricing was reflective of more of a dinner type pricing than it would be for lunch. So I don't think the food to price value was exactly there for lunch time. These were prices I would have probably more expected paying like closer to dinner time. The food itself, like you, rigatoni D is like one of my favorite dishes from there, and I didn't like it. I mean, it, like, the sauce seemed a lot more runny and not as creamy as it used to be. The chicken was not the same. I'm not sure if it was like a roasted chicken before or what it was, but this seemed, I mean, the chicken was tender, don't get me wrong there, but the flavoring didn't seem the same as it used to be. The caramelized onions seemed kind of sparse, and I'm not even sure if they used the same type of mushrooms as they did before. So the overall, like before, I would say like maybe the dish would have been like like a 9, but now it's more like a 6. And really I mean, it was good. I enjoyed it. I ate it, and then I ate it later on that day for dinner, but it wasn't like how it used to be. And I really liked the flavoring of it before. The wait staff, she started off really well. No complaints there. Oh, before I go to the wait staff, the salad, it was still on point. I agree. I don't like blue cheese, and to me, the blue cheese crumbles are a little bit too big. I wish they would have been a little bit finer, or I wish I would have remembered that it did have blue cheese, and I would have asked them to remove the blue cheese. But I did eat it. It was still very good. I still enjoyed it quite a bit. Yes, their bread with the balsamic vinaigrette, and the olive oil was still on point. So I still enjoyed that a lot. Now on to the wait staff. Like I said, she started off really, really well. But then when it came time for you to order your second glass of wine, she took an extremely long amount of time to get your second glass of wine. And we had to wait like a little over a half an hour for us to even get our check. After like you're pretty much done with your drink, and like I was only drinking water for lunch, and like even my water was almost done, and like it like I just didn't I don't think the wait staff or the waiting or the service was all that great. On top of that, and I think you were a little bit too kind because you went there because you mistakenly left your credit card there, and they treated you like crap. So really, the service there should be more like a 2 for you or a 1 with the type of service you got for going back to ask about your credit card, which they lost at that point. It wasn't there anymore. So is it a destination point? At this point, definitely not. I agree with you. Maybe it needs to have like one more shot type thing. Like once all the remodeling is done, maybe I might get if we do like a family dinner thing again, and we are in the main dining hall area, maybe I might feel better about the ambiance there. But as of right now, I'm giving it like a 5. I did not enjoy it. The food, I'm gonna give the food a 6. Because I was really that disappointed about the food.
I know the rigatoni D. I watched you eating it, and you were not.
I was not digging it.
No, not at all.
Not at all. I actually wish I would have ordered something else. and the service, I'm going to give that a 4. That gives me an average of a 5. So Maggiano's went from a non-destination point level 5 points. Would I take a date there? If it's the same type of service that we received with, even though the food is still good enough, you can still get there, you eat it. It's questionable because I'm not sure what I would get there. Especially when there's like some other nice restaurants around that area. I probably would go somewhere else now if I wanted to take a date. Would I meet friends there? The only way I meet friends there at this point now is if it's a special occasion like a birthday or an anniversary and they wanted to go there, then I would, or like a Mother's Day event or something like that. But I would not be the person who would say, hey, let's go there. I probably would go say, hey, let's go to Fogo de Chao or something like that, which is only like just a little bit down the road. Yeah, I guess that's it. I don't know. Am I missing a
No, it really was a big letdown.
Huge letdown.
And again, we did this because we wanted to give a restaurant, a lunch restaurant, a review. And we're like, okay, well, we've done them for dinner. Let's go check it out. And I think we were really just expecting half as a good of experience as we had when we did the family style dinner.
Nope, not at all. I'm actually like really bummed. I I really expected a whole lot more.
Well, the atmosphere alone, that I think was the biggest impact to me, is because in the past, the date in particular experience, as you mentioned, you went in there, it felt nostalgic, old world family, old world Italian family, most likely, the music, the lighting, the environment, the ambiance, every little piece of it. And then, I want to be forgiving about the fact that it's hard to get good help right now, but this is still Maggiano's. Like for $26 for a rigatoni D, my bill for lunch was $60 between the salad, the plate, and 2 glasses of wine. And it's like, man, for $60, I would have done almost anything else first at this point.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It was not a good value. It wasn't like, it was just so disappointing. And I'm really bummed because I like the place.
Yeah. This week's Smarter Challenge was the TV show based on a video game, The Last of Us, starring, really the headliner is Pedro Pascal. Bottom lines, what do you think about the show in general? How do you feel about the thought of zombies or the science behind zombies? And then do you have some favorite episodes or favorite scenes?
Okay, where you want to start off?
Now let's go straight to jumping right in. How did you feel about, and I thought it was well done. How did you feel about their introduction of what became a modern day zombie for this show versus anything you'd heard in the past?
Well, I think with a lot of these zombie shows, it all deals with like biolabs working and creating some kind of virus or vaccine. Well, I guess with the biolabs, they'll create a virus, and then at the same time, they'll develop a vaccine to protect their people, so that way they can use that as biological warfare. Here, it just seems like it's kind of same kind of premise. They're talking about like how fungus currently cannot grow on the inside of the body, but that doesn't mean like in one of these biolabs trying to create a bioweapon, they couldn't like create like a super strain or something like that to where eventually it could develop inside the body, and then hopefully if they did this, and maybe not, I mean, who knows like what their idea of like who they want to give the vaccines to. They might think like the mass, the masses or the general populace, maybe they want to get rid of them because they see them as useless eaters and people who waste resources, and so maybe they wouldn't give them the type of vaccine that they might have developed with it. But here, in any case, it seems like the fungus for this particular zombie show, fungus had mutated or adapted to the point where it could grow inside a human body, and just much like the zombie ants, where the fungus in the zombie ant takes over the bodily functions and eats away the host from the inside. That's what's happening here, and the science behind it seems sound, knowing what we know about biolabs and biological warfare. And it's an interesting take because all the other ones talk about viruses rather than fungus.
I did like the introduction here. So it starts out and it's 2 scientists talking like 50, 60 years ago about what scares them and what is going to be dangerous and what's going to happen. So very much so plays into a lot going on in the world today. One of those things being, you mentioned the virus and what about vaccines and what would that take? And 2 different scientists giving a reporter their views. One of them's like, oh, absolutely. Like it's going to become a super virus or a super bacteria that ultimately deteriorates the world, and that scares the hell out of me. And the other scientist is like, man, that doesn't scare me at all. And at the end of the day, he's like, bacteria and viruses scare me. These are the things that scare me. Here's why. With either of those, we win. We may lose hundreds of lives. We may lose billions of lives, but at the end of the day, we are able to adapt and overcome a virus or a bacteria through a vaccine or just natural changes in the human body that we've done since we were either incarnated or mass produced, however we may have come to this planet. But what scares him, and I loved this, is a different take on it, was the thought of fungus becoming a problem. And the other doctor, rightfully so, media challenge, you brought it up. He's like, why would that scare you? Like, fungus can't grow inside of a human being. It can't be a world ender. Like, you can get fungus on the outside of the body, but once it gets to a certain temperature, it cannot grow. So ultimately it becomes stagnant or dies. That's why you might get fungus on a toenail when you have poor circulation, because your toe isn't staying warm enough, and it's also on the outside. But the good point was here, we use funguses to create the things we kill other bacteria with. So penicillin and all these other things, we literally use funguses to help grow something to combat them. And I don't know that I loved the thought or the aspect of, they're like, well, what would happen if the world changed and the world got warmer and fungus grew and adapted, and all of a sudden it could grow inside of a human being. So I don't like the whole global warming aspect as much, that they might be trying to push just a little bit. But I love the thought that they used it, if that's really what they're doing, to say, yeah, fungus adapted. And in life, in this world, in history, we have seen, as different environments have super hot summers or other things going on, entire flocks, herds, species. And one of the most popular one is a species of little deer that was in Africa, and they had a really hot summer. The temperature was 5 degrees hotter than normal, and all of a sudden these deer just started dying left and right. And ultimately for them, it was a bacteria that was growing in their digestive tracts, because their bodies were running hotter and the bacteria was growing at a rate their body could no longer fight. So I did love the prospect of, yeah, like there might come a time where fungus becomes a problem, and at the end of the day, we don't have anything to kill fungus. You get fungus in your lawn, you're best off getting rid of all the dirt under the fungus and trying to start fresh than you are trying to use a fungicide, because all it does is stop it. It never fully kills it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it was in that TV series, or maybe if I read it somewhere, but fungus is like super intelligent too, because there's like studies where they have the fungus and they like set up mazes, and the fungus will learn how to go through the maze and find its way to food and stuff. And it's kind of scary to think, like, yeah, like if fungus were to alter, we don't have a way to combat it. And here's the thing, like right now, it seems like, yeah, that's kind of like whatever, because like what kind of evolution would it take for the fungus to do that? And how many years would it take? It could take a while. It may never even happen. But here's the thing. When you start talking about biolabs, and biological warfare, and then you take into consideration some of the technology as CRISPR-Cas9, where you can change the DNA of things, and so all they have to do is they have to just go in there and they can edit the DNA of the fungus, and boom, now all of a sudden you got a super strain that can now grow inside of humans, and then we're all fucked. Seriously.
No, we would be. There would be no known recovery or one foreseeable.
Yeah. And all it takes is, right now, even the CRISPR-Cas9 editing system, it's not even like regulated to just like government agencies. Like there's like random people who can get it, and you can start fucking around with like DNAs and altering shit, which right now, no one should be playing God like altering DNAs of anything, because we don't know what the long-term effects will be.
I'm still saying, though, if I was a billionaire and I knew a guy, I'd have him make me a Sasquatch.
I have him make a male and a female Sasquatch so they can have babies and fuck things up.
I just need one roaming around the woods for real.
I want two of them so there could be a little family running around screwing things up.
Can you imagine? Man, tangent time. Can you imagine your kid comes home? Dad, I think I saw a Sasquatch out in the field. Yeah, right. Then you go out there later, you're chopping some wood, you look up, and there's this Sasquatch family looking down at you like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that I don't know if that would be funny, but
be dropping some logs, can tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
All right. Do you have any favorite scenes?
Well, I'll say like kind of like my favorite episode / scene. It would probably be like the second half of an episode where this religious zealot, if you will, tries to take Ellie back to their camp, and he's successful in getting her to the camp when Ellie is trying to initially protect Joel, which is played by Pedro Pascal, because Pedro or Joel, his character or Pedro's character is injured and trying to survive. And really, here's the thing: like, set that all up is like this guy, this religious zealots group is actually the one who injured Pedro Pascal in the first place. And this guy's talking about like how he's kind of like the savior, and they're like a good group of people and all this stuff. But in reality, like the cool scene here is, well, one, you eventually see that in his group of people that they're actually eating humans. They're cannibals, and you got like human bodies hanging up like slabs of meat, which if you want to talk about like conspiracy theories and predictive programming, there are some so-called globalists that believe in that we need to start eating humans to help reduce global warming, because animals are causing too much pollution, and there are too many humans on Earth. But in any case, going on further here in this episode, the really cool part, so I thought that was kind of a cool scene, hanging like those, like the humans hanging up, and like the skin's already been stripped off, and just seeing like piles of meat. But creepy, not cool, not a cool good, but a creepy cool scene, I guess. But the really cool part about this kind of like whole section of this episode is Allie seeing through this guy's bullshit, knowing that he's like a kind of a sexual predator, and she fucking kills the guy, which I thought was kind of awesome how she did that.
Yeah, definitely one of my more memorable scenes as well, is she's sitting there hacking him 20 plus times with a big old knife after he does try to assault her. And it's one of these things where she's a kid. He's a grown man, and she's had to grow up too fast already. And they make this point throughout the show, and I think that that's appropriate. Although I think also most kids have to grow up too quick. They still have to grow up. With this, though, at the end of the day, nobody is sitting there going to be like, oh, yeah, it's okay to like just really go to town on somebody for whatever reason and chop them up into little pieces, cut them 100 times, do this, that, or the other, whatever. But I think one of the few exceptions for most people, not all, there's some out there that believe that sort of thing should be okay and just give them a slap on the back of the hand and let them go. No, most people have probably saw this scene and felt very similar to, I imagine, how you and I felt, which was, yeah, like if that's what it takes for you to get over what was one of the greatest, whether you're religious or not, sins, wrongs on the planet or anywhere in the universe, as one of the worst things you can do. You don't cheer for it, but you're okay with it instantly.
Yeah, definitely.
Weird. It's a weird feeling, but I was just like, oh my God. Yeah, good for you, kid. Like, from now on, no one can do you wrong because you know what you can do. You've lived the full experience. I think one of my favorite episodes, and it's a weird episode to bring up, was episode 3, Long Time, where we have Nick Offerman playing Bill, who you find as, and what most people consider him, even in the show, is a paranoid survivalist. But what I want to say is
He's a prepper, man. I love preppers.
Whatever you want to say, paranoid survivalist or what, this guy had it set up. He had it rigged, and good for him. He did an awesome job. It was also very interesting to see him play his role as a gay man.
That part, I didn't really care for the whole gay part, but yeah, I think that was a great episode.
Dude, I think they did that intentionally because that would not be what most would normally think is. That's the guy I expected to be a prepper. Literally, he's not the guy you expect to be a prepper. And I love when Ellie and Joel go downstairs and later on they're going because at this point, Bill and his would-be lover are no longer alive. They're dead. And they go down and he leaves them a note saying, take whatever you want. I didn't like you, but I trust you. And I think that's one of probably honestly the best things anybody can read or hear is whether or not someone likes you, that they trust you. Because, man, I'll take at work, especially if I know somebody trusts me, I'll take that over them liking me any day versus, well, I like you, but I don't trust you. And that doesn't get you anywhere in work. You will fail at work with that. But so they go down there and Ellie sees the wall of guns. She's like, this guy was a genius.
I mean, the way he did it as a prepper and how he bypassed all of the military when they're clearing out places like that. Yeah, that was. I mean, I think if you take out the whole gay portion of it, that probably would have been my favorite episode. Not that I'm so anti-gay or anything. It's just honestly, I didn't think that really needed to be there at all. I think it could have. I think they could have done it as maybe two friends, or it could have been, I don't really think necessarily you had to push that kind of agenda there.
I think the only reason it couldn't be two friends was because of the way it ended.
That part is probably true.
But I thought that was great. All right. Are there any other little things or lines that stuck with you that you remembered?
Well, one of the things that kind of stuck with me, and I think this adds a new twist to the whole zombie apocalypse type of thing, dealing with fungi, is how they were able to. You could set up on a patch and miles away, the fungus would communicate with the already turned people, and will notify where the disturbance was. So where they would a massive group of turned people would come over and trying to take over wherever these live people are. So I think that was kind of cool detail. I think another interesting detail that was brought about in this series is totalitarianism type of government, and how when you rule by dictatorship and stuff like that, how that affects society and what the repercussions could be, and how it can actually turn out to be worse for everybody later on down the road, especially after that regime has been taken over. And then what replaces that? Is it going to be a new democracy, or is it going to be a new dictator? And I think you see two different types of versions of it. I think in Boston, where they started off, where Pedro and Ellie, they started off their venture, it wasn't nearly as bad. It was bad. People didn't like it. But they're surviving, versus what you saw when they hit Kansas City, and the people got so fed up with it, they killed their overlords, if you will. But then they became overlords themselves, and it didn't change. It really didn't change anything other than who the new dictators were. And I think that was kind of another interesting fact that they showed in the series.
Yeah. You bring up, and that comes along with one of my favorite little sayings, quotes, which I don't remember exactly how it goes, but ultimately Pedro Pascal's character Joel says to Ellie about the and they don't really ever call them zombies that I know of, but the zombies are the clickers or the different names they have.
Clickers, infected, or something like
the
that.
infected. And he said that he actually preferred the infected over regular humans because at least the infected were predictable. Whereas regular humans, to his point, he's dealt with it all, and they show it. You mentioned this through the show with the dictatorships and the different groups. And the further you get away from the masses, the more you get into different trains of thought. And you do have something like the compound where his brother is at, where it's ultimately socialist, but everyone has a role and no one's being dictated yet, at least. And then you have the other extreme dictatorships where there's one person absolutely in charge. It's known, and whatever they say goes, even when everyone else knows, man, this lady's being crazy. Why are we trying to find this guy still?
Yeah, and then also you get the cult with the religious guy in his group. Honestly, the socialistic kind of side where his brother is, we don't know what the evil underbelly is there because we only saw it for a brief moment. I mean, they try to pass it off as like something good and stuff like that. And I think maybe that's subliminal messaging of Hollywood or whatever, trying to say like socialism is better than freedom or independence, which I'm not in agreement with.
It will be interesting. One of the things I really enjoyed about this show was Ellie sharing all of her little riddles, if you will, puns, jokes.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Dude, it's so great, and it's really great when Pedro beats her to the punch. But man, it was so stupid, but it's so funny when she asks him, "What did the green grape say to the purple one?" And he's like, "I don't know what." And she's like, "Breathe, you idiot." And it's just like, all right, like I get it.
I forget what was the author that she was reading from.
I cannot remember.
There's somewhere in that series where he's like, whoever Livingston is or whatever the author's name was. I thought that was kind of funny because throughout the whole time frame she's reading like from that book or telling jokes from that book, and then somewhere along the way he's like, that guy, you're not him.
But they are great, and I thought it was fantastic, the relationship that's built between the two. And what I really want to say about this show is Pedro Pascal has nailed it again. First with The Mandalorian, then for me at least, man, you got the unbearable weight of massive talent.
Him and Nick Cage in that movie is phenomenal. Loved it.
And now this, and I only can wish this guy the best because he's brought me, my friends, my family, as I watched a chunk of The Last of Us with my son, some really great joy. Well, I'm really wrapping it up. I will also say, though, Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie, also does a phenomenal job. And her first role of Game of Thrones, man, she was easy to be the one you hated. Like this queen is twisted.
Actually, no, she was that little Lady Mormont chick. I thought she was kind of badass. A lot of people liked her.
Right, but wasn't she also like a ruler?
I mean, she was a ruler of her little area, but she wasn't like everyone loved her because she was like a total badass.
Right, and she went and she came and saved the day. At one point, she brought her forces, but man, I just thought, man, this lady's like, there's something wrong here. And here I'm like, man, good for this actress who's playing these roles so goddamn well. So really nice job. Congrats, Bella. I hope these two win some award. And there were some other great actors. Offerman does an amazing job.
Yeah, in his episode, he does do a good job. Melanie Linsky, the one who plays the leader of the Kansas City group, I am not a fan of hers.
But she played her job well.
She played her job well, and I think maybe that's why I'm not a fan of hers, is because I did not like that character, which means that she did her character justice for what it was. Yeah. Overall, I think it's a great series. It almost made me curious to want to go buy the game and play the game, see what it's like versus the TV series. Since I do like to play video games, however, when I do play video games, I neglect a lot of other things in my life, so I did not purchase it.
All right. All right. Well, for me, that's it for the Smarter Challenge. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to more.
Yeah, I think I look forward to it as well. All right, so next week's Smarter Challenge is going to be Missing 411. Here, this is Pilatus is the author of a study that he did. He used to be a former police officer. And then people had approached him about like how people went missing in the national forests and stuff like that. And he wrote multiple books about people going missing in the national forest. And there's I think now 3 documentaries. All 3 of them are available on Amazon. I think 2 of them you have to purchase or rent, but one of them's still available if you have Amazon Prime. But I think it'd be kind of interesting to talk about that because the National Forest Service does not keep a log of all the people who go missing. And it just seems really weird. So I think we could talk a little bit about that, what we think some of the theories might be, and talk about some of the strange stories that might come along with it.
Sasquatch,
yeah. And for the Scotch, I don't know what that is. I didn't pick that out yet. So
all right.
I apologize.
To be determined.
So if you guys have made it this far, thank you everyone for watching us. We greatly appreciate all of you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Leave some comments. If you want to become a Patron member, please please take that first link down below in the comment area. And please subscribe to us so that way we can hit our goal of 1,000. Once again, you don't have to ever watch us again if you don't like us. We just want you to please hit that subscribe button to help us out. We greatly appreciate that. And Jesse, you'll close us out, man.
All right. So with that, remember, life is great. And hopefully you are taking time to share with your either it could be pets, family, or friends and going on adventures. The key point in life when I look back, and I think most people feel the same, is experiences. So hopefully you guys are having an experience watching this show, enjoying it, taking it as some feedback. We will continue to evolve our restaurant reviews, giving critical assessments fairly for our experiences to help you guys better judge what you're looking for in the future. And you might very well be like, yeah, I want a cold ass restaurant. It gives me shitty service and charges me $26 for a pasta. I'm going to Maggiano's, or not. That will be something you can call as we continue to catalog these and make them easier for you to review. That's part of us getting to those 1,000 subscribers. So please subscribe, because then we can literally bookmark this so anyone can find them easily on our shows. Something we are trying to do as we share with you. Remember, life is great, and
drink responsibly.
Drink very responsibly. And other than that, until next time,
Scotchman.
Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Scotch Hour. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have not done so already, please become a Patron member, with memberships starting as low as $1 a month. Thank you, and hopefully you have a wonderful evening.